Good morning, good evening, good night, good day, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I am Tim. I'm your only commentator for today. Alex, unfortunately, cannot make it, but that is okay because we can still have plenty of fun and get this show on the road. Looking down the beautiful paddock of the Canadian Grand Prix, this beautiful circuit. But first, before we get the race underway, as always, we must do our qualifying session. To update you really quick on the point standings, after last week's race, we do still have SVDL in the lead with 111 points, Jory in second with 94 points, and Stain in third with 75 points. That puts Williams still at the top of the board with 169 points to Toro Rosso's 117. So, SVDL leading the point standings, but Williams leading the constructors' standings. So we have a little bit of a rivalry going on here between Williams and Toro Rosso. As we watch the drivers on their outlap, we will ride on board with Dimitri as he goes through that hairpin of turn 11. Although it does look like he is slowing down, there is a caution in Sector 3 there through the last chicane. That looks like a Red Bull. I believe that was Harbkosh. They're not sure. It might have been a Toro Rosso. I did not get a good look at the car, but nonetheless, they have went back into the pit, so they're not going to be a factor. So you see Dimitri there. He has started his flying lap. He is on the medium tire, so we're going to see what kind of lap time he can put down. Meanwhile, Sesa has a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Cucaracha, so already a bad start for Sesa. Just keep watching Dimitri's qualifying lap here. Right on board with him as he goes through the hairpin of turn 10. Fairly good exit, maybe a little bit wide there, but if it works for him and gives him a fast time, then who am I to judge? SVDL already setting the time to beat with a 109.606. Stain in second with a 110.494, but that is on the hard tire, so look for that time to change and get a little bit faster. Meanwhile, Dimitri, it looks like his lap was actually invalidated. In fact, no, it was not. He did, in fact, cross the line with a 110.002, but Levi, he is shot up to the top of the board, a 108.675 for the Renault driver. So he has set the time to beat here. We're going to go take a look at Jesse. In the Racing Point machine, he has set one lap already on those soft tires, rather. However, I do believe that it was an invalidated lap, so he does not have a time on the board, and he's going to have to try it again. There is a McLaren off track that looks to be Sesa, so not sure if he was just trying to pull out of the way to let the faster cars by, or if he's having an issue. We're going to go and take a look at him right now, as actually Jesse gets into the back of a Toro Rosso. And I do believe that Jesse's day is done. He will not be setting a time. I think that was the Toro Rosso of Dennis. No, I don't know who he got into the back of there. But unfortunately for Jesse, already issues in this qualifying session. He will not set a lap, so that will put him at the very back of this full grid that we're going to have in this race today. So to take a look now at Sesa to see if there is any problems going on with him. First, we see Tiaz there in the Alfa Romeo. He is about to finish his lap. He's already set one lap, but no time on the board, so apparently it was invalidated. going through that final chicane and past the wall of champions. He'll cross the line momentarily. Where will he end up? No, he will not actually, because he has invalidated that lap as well. So taking a look at Seiza now, who is on his out lap, about to start his flying lap as he heads down into turn 1. On board with the McLaren driver, he has the medium tires fitted at the moment, so probably not going to be the fastest time from Seiza this time around. However, he can always pull into the pits, put a new fresh set of softs, and then come right back out. Looks like the Alfa Romeo driver of Tiez has wrecked out, so you saw Seiza going by him there. Unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo driver. Already we have 2 DNFs in this qualifying session. So as Seiza rounds the final chicane, he'll cross the line momentarily. Where will he end up? Good enough for 4th, a 109.549 from the McLaren. Going to take a look now at Raphael. In fact, no, we're going to take a look at Strict Dan instead, as he is on his flying lap and about to finish up, trying to get a little bit of a slipstream from SVDL, but he's actually slowing down and under power now, so he's not going to set a fast time this lap. He has invalidated his lap, actually, so that would explain the issue there. So the question is he going to pull into the pits, or is he going to go for another lap? Strict Dan will not go into the pits. He is going to try for one more lap at least. This one will not be invalidated. So as he goes down through turn 1, he's going to see how quick he can get. The Haas driver in this number 14 car gonna have to be very careful here. Not sure where he went wrong last time, but he certainly does, and he's gonna be very cautious come that section of the track. But we're riding on board with him, watching his steering input. So far, fairly smooth from Strict Dan. He's approaching a slow Ferrari. That is Dimitri there, so we'll look for Strict Dan to try to get through. And Dimitri moves over. Good sportsmanship there, letting the faster car of Strict Dan by while he's on his flying lap. Now, there was a Toro Rosso that looked to be SVDL, I do believe. Yes, he moved out of the way, but I think that Strict Dan got held up anyway. But he's going through the final chicane past the wall of champions. He will cross the line. Where will he end up? Good enough for 8th, a 109.871 for Strict Dan in the Haas. Gonna go down and look at Ghost Zero, the other Renault driver. So his teammate of Levi is on the pole. I'm sure that he's wanting to equal that time, and he gets very close. A 109.428 for Ghost Zero there. So we got a Renault 1 and 3 right now, and the Haas car of Max P being the second fastest driver, a 108.772. Just over 9 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. So just enough time for more drivers to get out there and set a lap. Going to take a look at Raphael, who has started his flying lap now. On board with him as he approaches Sector 2. He's going to have a little bit of a DRS zone here, so he's going to get a little bit of a burst of speed. Through that chicane very nicely. That is a chicane that is very easy to cut, so you have to be so very careful going through there. Going through the hairpin of turn 10 now, and turn 11. Gonna have a little bit of a DRS zone before he gets to turn 12. And now as he approaches the final chicane of turns 13 and 14, he will go past the wall of champions. Across the line, Raphael good enough for the 12th position, a 110.148. So we'll take a look at Cucaracha now. who will start his flying lap here in just a moment. We have 3 drivers who have not set a time that are actually still in the qualifying session. That is Dennis, Cucaracha, and Sea-Dog. Of course, Jesse and TS24, they unfortunately crashed out of their qualifying session, so they do not have an option to set a time anymore. Going through turn 1 is Cucaracha, maybe having a little bit of trouble with the racing line there, and he invalidated his lap, so he's going to have to try it again. So very unfortunate there for Cucaracha. Sesa looks like he is on a flying lap, and it is not invalidated, so we're going to watch and see how he's doing. And I'm going to take the moment to pause and just let you hear the inputs, let you hear his throttle inputs and see what he's doing. And Sesa did improve his time, a 1:08.089 for the McLaren driver, so that's good enough for 5th at the time being. Now taking a look at Stain, still in 3rd place. Though he's on the medium tires right now, his best lap is a 1:08.962, though I do believe those were set on the softs. We will be able to take a look at that. In fact, no, they were set on the medium. So, Stain, in fact, very fast on those medium tires, but he pulls into the pits. So we'll see if he's going to change into the softs to try to get that pole position. Meanwhile, taking a look at Levi, still your provisional pole sitter with a 1:07.860. Looking very good off of that corner. A fresh set of softs on that Renault, so he's going to try to best his time. Going through turn 10, the Racing Point machine of Raphael moving out of his way. Good sportsmanship there. Getting a little bit of a slipstream from the Ferrari driver. That looks to be either Cucaracha or Dimitri. Going through the final chicane, Levi passes the wall of champions, and as he crosses the line, will he improve his time? He does, only just a 1:07.836 now for Levi. So, trying to make that gap up top just a little bit bigger for Levi there. Going to take a look now at Dimitri. As he goes by Levi, Dimitri now on his flying lap. His best time, a 1:09.234. Going through turns 8 and 9. Approaching the hairpin of turn 10. Now, to give you an update on Dimitri's standings in the points, I don't actually believe that he is officially a Ferrari driver, as he is just a reserve driver. So it looks like he is a reserve driver for Junior Spam, so no points on the board for Dimitri. However, he will score points for Ferrari if he's able to go into a points-paying position today. So take a look at Veterano now. But he's actually going into the pits as his lap has been invalidated. So Veterano just not happy with what happened that time around, and quite frankly, I wouldn't be either. So Strict Dan also going into the pits, it looks like. Harvkosh now. We'll take a look at the Red Bull of Harvkosh as he is on his flying lap and going down that final very long straightaway, but ducks into the pits as well. And Raphael gets into the wall right as we switch to him to watch his camera view. So not sure what happened to Raphael, but as you can see, his right front is no more. So he's going to have to settle for a 110.148. That's only good enough for 14th at the moment. So Raphael, he's going to have a lot of work to do when we get to the race. Take a look at Ghost Zero. He has dropped down to the 8th position now with a 109.428. He's on his out lap, so momentarily he'll start his flying lap. We'll see if he can maybe get a little bit closer to his teammate of Levi up there on the top of the board. Though it does look like our third place runner at the moment, Stain, is on his flying lap. He is fast on the medium tires. That time you see on the board was set with medium tires. So with that in mind, I do believe that the pole position is not out of the question for Stain. It's just a matter of, can he squeeze that extra 2 2/10 out of that car that he needs to. However, he's not going to do it this time. His lap is invalidated, as I just noticed. So, Stain struggling a little bit here. Going to take a look at Frosty Calvin, who is on his flying lap. Currently in the 4th position with a 108.027, or excuse me, a 109.027. Going through turns 9 and 10, approaching the turn, or excuse me, 8 and 9, and approaching the turn 10 hairpin now is Frosty Calvin in the Red Bull. Levi has had enough. He's retired from the session, so he will not set another lap. What you see is what you get with him. It's a matter of, will anyone behind him be able to best his time, or does he have a lock on the pole? Frosty Calvin going through the final chicane and past the wall of champions. A very good exit there, and as he crosses the line, will he best his time? Yes, he does, to second place, a 108.755 for the Red Bull. Taking a look at Sesa now as he is finishing up his flying lap. 43 seconds remaining in this qualifying session, so not a lot of time for these drivers to finish off their laps. They are going to have to go fairly quick about it. However, Sesa, he does have plenty of time. He is all good going through the final chicane past the wall of champions. When he crosses the line, will he better his time or not? It is still 5th, a 109.099, or excuse me, a 089, and it looks like Ghost Zero has, in fact, bested his previous time to move himself up to 4th, so that puts Sesa down to 6th. Ghost Zero, a 108.835, or a 935 rather, excuse me. Jory, though, rocketing up to second place, a 108.740. SVDL, your championship leader, a 108.403. So, he is officially in the second position, though it does look like Levi is going to walk away with the pole. So, congratulations to Levi, assuming that what you see is what you're going to get. We do have a few drivers finishing up their flying lap, but I don't believe that anyone's going to have anything for that Renault driver, so here in just a moment, we will get confirmation on that. And Dimitri hit the wall, as you saw there. So, Dimitri definitely not going to improve his time. A 109.177 is what he's going to finish the qualifying session with. And I do believe that what you see is what you're going to get from these drivers. There you see Dennis. He is 11th, a 109.441, his best time, but he has already finished his final lap. And there you have it. Officially, the qualifying session is over. Levi on the pole, followed by SVDL in second, Jory in third, Frosty Calvin in fourth, Max P in fifth, Ghost 0 in 6th. 7th is Stain. Seysa 8th. 9th is Dimitri. 10th is Veterano. Dennis in 11th. David in 12th. Strickdan in 13th. 14th is Raphael. Harvkosh 15th. Cucaracha in 16th. 17th is It's Jake. Jesse in 18th. 19th is Tiez. And Sea-Dog, who did not set a time at all. Didn't even go on the track, I believe, in 20th. So here in just a few moments, we will be able to get underway with the Tier 3 Series Canadian Grand Prix. Just waiting for all the drivers to ready up, find their place on the grid, and start their formation lap. So for you who are just joining or joined during the qualifying session, I will take this time to update you on the point standings. SVDL is in the lead in the Toro Rosso in the driver's standings with 111 points. That is over Jory in second with 94 points, and Stain, both Williams drivers there, who has 75 points. Updating you on the constructor standings, Williams is on the top of the board, however, with 169 points, followed by Toro Rosso with 117. The nearest Toro Rosso driver in the standings looks to be David with 13 points, and also Dennis with 6 points. So, SVDL, a third Toro Rosso driver, but the only one who has actually been able to make every single race. So David and Dennis both have raced and have scored points, one of which, though, being the reserve driver. Today, it does look like we have Dennis in the field. So he is only having 6 points at the moment. But nonetheless, a good show from both Williams and Toro Rosso, who have a pretty strong hold at the top of the board. Their nearest competitor is Ferrari with 109 points. The highest Ferrari driver, however, in the standings is Cucaracha with only 14 points. So as they make their way down that very long straightaway, they will find their places on the grid momentarily, and we will be able to start this race, a 35-lap race for the Tier 3 Series here at Canada. So there you see the back of the grid just trying to find their appropriate positions to line up in. Here momentarily we will be going green. So you see a little bit of a tire strategy there. Of course, the top 10 are the tires that they qualified on, while the remaining 10 drivers decided to choose what tires they're going for. So a lot of softs and a lot of mediums is what we're seeing. So now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights in the air. No red lights. We are green for the Formula Euro League Tier 3 Series at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Levi leading him down into turn 1, but a little bit of a battle between Frosty Calvin and SVDL for second place. That moves Frosty Calvin up into second there over SVDL. So the Toro Rosso driver trying to back out and be very cautious here, but good move on Frosty Calvin to take advantage of a hole that he saw to get through, but SVDL already trying to make a move, and there he goes, trying to go around the outside of SVDL. We do have a virtual safety car. It looks like there has been a little bit of carnage, and that is Stain. So Stain has been dropped back to 20th place on the grid. You see him there having a little bit of issue getting the car turned around, and Jesse has a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision. Veterano, Harvkosh, also 5-second time penalties for severe collisions, and Seysa is your first retirement of the race. So we're going to ride on board with Stain to see if we can see where the McLaren of Seysa has stopped on track, and there he is. So unfortunate for Seysa that he does not even get to complete a lap in this race before he is wrecked out. Seysa did have a 5-grid place penalty due to a severe collision with another driver in qualifying. However, he was still fairly fast. I do believe he could have managed a top 5 here today, but not going to be the case anymore. Levi still leading them with SVDL in second, Frosty Calvin in third. We will go green now. So 1 lap complete on the books, as of course you saw that was only a virtual safety car, so no need for 2 or 3 pace laps here. And it looks like Jesse has retired from the session as well. Or left the session, rather. So we'll see if he can maybe get back into his car. But it looks like there might be a little bit of battle for position back here between Dimitri, Max, and Ghost Zero. They are nose to tail, these 3 cars, the Ferrari, Haas, and Renault drivers. Gonna ride on board with Ghost Zero because he has the best view in the house of this battle here. All battling for a top 5 position, and Dimitri has caught Jory in the 4th place. So we have a 4-car battle for the 4th position here now. Though it looks like it is starting to calm down. Ghost Zero trying to get some slipstream off of Max P, but he's not going to really be able to make too much of it. I expect DRS to be activated very soon. However, with the virtual safety car, I do believe that's going to delay the DRS activation by about a lap or 2. So momentarily, we will see DRS active, and Harvkosh has retired from the session, so there is an issue with him. Apparently, he is wrecked out. Not sure what's happened there. So Harvkosh going to have to settle for 19th place today. So we're going to take a look at Frosty Calvin, who is starting to close in on SVDL. Now, Frosty Calvin, in the point standings, is only in the 6th position with 32 points. So he has a lot of ground to make up if he wants to catch SVDL. Of course, SVDL will likely need to have some non-point scoring days as well for Frosty Calvin to have a good shot at catching him. However, we do have plenty of racing left in this season. There you saw SVDL going into the pits already. And that is actually a very surprising move, I believe. So we're going to watch and see what happens here. If maybe he's going to change the front wing, maybe that's an issue. Yes, they do have a front wing ready. So apparently there was some damage that SVDL caught in that race. So changing the front wing and pulling back out on track, but he has lost a lot of time, dropping down to the 14th position, and it might be 15th by the time he rejoins this race. We're going to watch and see, because Strickdan, he is coming, but I do believe that SVDL will retain the 14th position, so at least he doesn't have to worry about losing another position. Meanwhile, Tiez, who wrecked out in qualifying, has worked his way up to the 9th position in that Alfa Romeo. He's under a little bit of pressure from the Racing Point machine of Rafael, but nonetheless, a good run from Tiez, as now we are under a virtual safety car. It does look like it's between Jake. Yeah, there you see it's Jake and Sea-Dog. So Sea-Dog going by, but it's Jake just trying to get the car turned around. Not sure what went on, but he spun around, and that's not where you want to be. So he's going to rejoin this race in the 15th position. That does allow SVDL to gain a few positions, so he has moved up to the 12th position. Meanwhile, to rejoin the battle up in the lead, or what will be the battle up in the lead, 4 seconds separating Frosty Calvin and Levi, so not really much of a battle there, and I don't think we have DRS enabled yet. Speak of the devil, we actually do. There you go. DRS enabled, but Jory not close enough to do anything with it. He was momentarily close enough to Calvin, but now he is not, so we're going to take a look at David, as he is only 0.8 of a second behind Max P, running in that 5th position. Tiez behind him in 6th, but that is a 5.2 second gap. So David using the DRS to try to get just a little bit closer to Max P. It really did not work as well as he would have hoped. Went through turns 8 and 9, approaching the hairpin of turn 10 now. He'll have a DRS zone here. He is within range. He's only about half a second behind Max P. Let's see if he'll be able to do anything with it. Only just, however, he lost some ground through that chicane. And just behind him, Tiez almost hit the wall of champions. He got very close. So riding on board with him, we'll see what he's doing. Fairly decent line through turns 1 and 2. Just trying to hang on. Looks like he's really just trying to ride around at this point and bide his time. There's no reason for him to push very hard. It's only lap 6 of 35. He's got 5 laps on his soft tires. He could probably realistically go at least 5 more. Maybe a little bit more, depending on how he's managed his tires up to this point. But just as I say that, he has spun. So Tiez already not looking good. He spins, so he will drop back to at least the 7th position. All drivers thankfully getting by, not hitting the parked car of Tiez, but that drops him back to the 9th position. So very unfortunate for Tiez24 there in the Alfa Romeo. Taking a look now at the battle between Max P and David, because David has caught Max P. He will use the DRS to get by him, but will he be able to clear him as they go through this final chicane? On the inside is David, but Max P goes into the pit, so he's not going to have to worry about it. Pit stops are starting now, as you can see, so David moves up into 3rd. He's on the medium tire, so he can go probably about 10 more laps or so if he really, really wants to try to stretch it. Frosty Calvin, meanwhile, has decided to take the medium tires, so he's rejoining this race in what looks to be the 7th position, at least for the time being. That might change a little bit here. Levi, however, is staying out on those soft tires. 6 laps on those soft tires at the moment, and 6.5 second lead over Jory. Levi has led the whole race up to this point, and it's probably contributing to him actually staying out on those soft tires because he hasn't had to really battle with a lot of drivers, so he's able to conserve his tires and just ride around, so he'll probably be able to stretch out that window a little bit more. But I don't expect him to go much further than 10 laps at the most on those soft tires, and even that might be a little bit of a stretch here, considering that a lot of these drivers pitted with only 5 laps on their soft tires. There you see David trying to catch Jory in the Williams there. Jory and David both on medium tires, so they will stay out for a little bit longer. The question is, will they pit for softs or will they pit for hards and try to make it to the end of the race? I would imagine that they're going to try to stay out for around 15 laps, give or take, and then go for the hards and try to stay and make it to the rest of the race. Meanwhile, Dimitri, he has a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so unfortunate for Dimitri already. He's running in the 4th position, 11 seconds behind David, and only 0.3 of a second ahead of Frosty Calvin on fresh mediums. Behind him, there was a little bit of jostling around for position. That is Ghost Zero and Raphael. Racing Point versus Renault. So riding on board with Raphael, we're going to see what he can do. Trying to get a slipstream off of Ghost Zero in that Renault going through the chicane there. Approaching the hairpin of turn 10 very shortly. However, Ghost Zero absolutely pulled away. So Raphael not going to be a factor in this battle, at least not yet, but he is still within DRS range. So if he can stay there when he gets to this DRS range here on this straightaway, he might be able to have a shot to at least gain some ground on Ghost Zero. But Ghost Zero is a man on a mission. He is flying. He has fresh mediums, 3 laps on those tires versus 7 laps on Raphael's tires. So Raphael's tires starting to show their age a little bit as Ghost Zero just absolutely murdered him through the corners. Max P now, who is on slightly newer mediums, 2 laps on those medium tires actually versus 8 laps for Raphael. So it looks like Max P is going to get by Raphael here in just a minute. So it is Haas versus Racing Point now. Max P clears Raphael, so move him up into the 7th position. Meanwhile, Levi has decided to pit and rejoin this race in 3rd with a fresh set of medium tires. So that puts Jory and David as leading this pack. Going to take a look at the battle for the lead because David is only 0.5 of a second behind Jory, trying everything he can to get close to him. I'm sure he would love to taste the lead, but he's going to have to hold it. It's not just about tasting it, it's also about holding that lead, and he's going to have to pit at least on a one-stop strategy. I do believe, though, that some of these drivers who pitted for softs and then mediums will be going on a two-stop strategy. We're going to have to wait and see about that. But Jory and David, I do believe, can make it on a one-stop strategy if they decide to pit for the hard tires. However, I'm not sure what's going on through their heads. I'm not sure what the conversation between them and their race engineers are at the moment. So we're just going to have to wait and see. That Ferrari that you see there, it is the ghosted car of, I do believe, Cucaracha. So not sure what is wrong with Cucaracha. Perhaps he's having issues getting into his car. So he is not a factor in this race at the time being. There you see Cucaracha's teammate, however, Dimitri, while Frosty Calvin, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, and that is unfortunate for Frosty Calvin as he was Levi's nearest competitor, and honestly, he still is. But 2.3 seconds, that will take him back to about a 5-second gap between him and Levi once it all gets settled out. So it's going to be very difficult for Frosty Calvin to rebound for that, especially on slightly older mediums than what Levi has. So the DRS has been enabled. I do believe we had a brief virtual safety car that I completely missed. So there goes Dimitri trying to make a move on Frosty Calvin, but Frosty Calvin denying him that momentum. So that will actually allow Frosty Calvin to pull away just a very little bit from Dimitri. Still no change up at the top of the board. Jory leads David by just over a second. Levi, of course, once green flag stops settle out, will retain the lead as long as nothing catastrophic happens for that Renault driver. And Levi's teammate looks like he is actually battling with Max P, so there is now a yellow flag in Sector 2. Not sure what has happened. I don't see anything that's went on. So whatever car was stopped has finally gotten back underway, so there will be no safety car, no virtual safety car. We are all good to go for green flag racing. Ghost Zero trying to catch Max P in that Haas machine, while Sea-Dog has a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And into the hairpin, Ghost Zero clears Max P, but will Max P do the crossover? Yes, he does, with just a very little bit of minor contact between those two drivers. But Ghost Zero got back around before they got to the final chicane, so past the wall of champions, Ghost Zero will win out on that little battle, but it's not over yet because, guess what? SVDL is also joining this mix. We have a 3-car battle for the 6th position. Starting to calm down here as Max P has won out, at least for the time being. He is in 6th, Ghost Zero in 7th. SVDL, your championship leader, in the 8th position, who you see on your screen at the moment. On board with SVDL in the Toro Rosso, you see Ghost Zero trying to get a little bit of slipstream from Max P and trying to use a little bit of DRS where he can. However, only gaining a very small amount that time, going through the chicane and approaching the hairpin very shortly here. Will he be able to try to make a move? He's just not close enough, though, I don't believe. However, if he can get a good exit out of this hairpin, Ghost Zero will be able to get the DRS on Max P and might be able to make a move going into the next corner. Meanwhile, SVDL, he got a good exit. He's getting a slipstream off of Ghost Zero. Gonna look for SVDL to maybe make a move as he's using the DRS. He goes around the outside of Ghost Zero. Will he clear him? Yes, he does before he gets to the chicane, so a good move from SVDL. And how do you like that? SVDL now moves into the 6th position due to pit stops. Jory has decided to pit, and he did, in fact, pit for the hard tires. So Jory going to try to make it the rest of the way in this race here. He will rejoin the race, though, in at least the 8th position, looking for that to drop maybe one more position. We're going to take a look at Dennis, see where he is. I do believe Jory got out ahead of him. Yes, he did. You see Jory there in the Williams. So 8th, but did he hit the wall? Did he hit the wall and lose part of his front wing? I believe he did. Oh my goodness, yeah, Jory lost part of his front wing, so he's going to have to pull into the pits yet again. And let's just hope for Jory's sake that he is not out of hard tires. He can pit now, put another set of hards on, and maybe be able to rebound. But if he has to go on the mediums, I'm not convinced that he's going to be able to last to the end of the race, so he might be doing a 4-stop strategy if he does not have any more hard tires, and undoubtedly a 3-stop strategy, because we'll look for him to pit this time. It looks like SVDL has gotten by Max P now, so SVDL has moved up into the 5th position, trying to retain that championship lead, while Max P is under pressure from Ghost Zero in the Renault. Ghost Zero looking on the inside, but not able to do anything going through turn 1, through turn 2 now. Ghost Zero just trying to follow through and use Max P as a little bit of a slipstream, a little bit of a advantage toward himself. Max P getting a much better exit than Ghost Zero through that last corner. However, Ghost Zero has a little bit of DRS that will allow him to close the gap just a little bit as they go through the chicane. But will his exit be what he needs it to be? Through the hairpin. He is all up on the back of Max P. So Max P got a very good exit out of 10 there. And we have a safety car. David has retired from the session. Where has he wrecked out? Did he wreck out going into the pits? We're going to try to take a look at that here. I do not see his car stop. No, he wrecked at the Wall of Champions. David is wrecked at the Wall of Champions. He was leading this race, and he wrecked out. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this has major implications on this race here. Levi in the lead, Frosty Calvin in second. Now, will Frosty Calvin try to pit and serve his time penalty, or will he stay out? I do believe, though, that a lot of these drivers are probably going to pit for fresh mediums. They might be able to make it to the end of the race if they pit this time around. It will be a big ask, but considering we're going to have at least 3, maybe even 4 laps of safety car here, I think that it could behoove them to pit for the medium tires, put a fresh set on, and just try to conserve them as much as possible. So it looks like Levi and Frosty Calvin both have went into the pits. Levi likely will be taking medium tires, but we're going to see what he does. No, he takes the hard tires. So Levi switching to the hard tires. What does Frosty Calvin do? On the medium tires. So Frosty Calvin taking a fresh set of mediums. SVDL taking a fresh set of hards. So a little bit of differing tire strategies here, while Ghost Zero decides to take the softs. That is an unorthodox call if I have ever seen one, because he is going to have to pit again unless we have about 3 safety cars from here on out. There's no way that Ghost Zero can make those soft tires last another 20 laps. There's just absolutely no way. So a very unorthodox call from Ghost Zero, but nonetheless, we're going to wait and see if he can make it work. But I just don't see any scenario where that's the case. So Frosty Calvin, the only driver taking the mediums that time around. Most drivers taking the hards. So Frosty Calvin, if he can make his medium tires last about 19 laps here, he will be fairly well off. I believe that the hard tires, Levi, SVDL, Dimitri, Max P, they can go to the end. Jory, who had to pit for new tires because he had a little bit of wing damage, this safety car actually helps him out significantly, because Jory can now just ride around. He's in the 8th position, but nonetheless, he's close. He is still at least in contention. If he's got a fast enough car, he will be able to make his way through the pack here. But taking a look at that Williams car, and we can see how the front wing is supposed to look like. A far cry from what it looked like a few laps ago, but will he decide to pit for a fresh set of hards. I did not think he would. However, in front of him, Dennis will pit. So is he going to go on the hard tires, or is he going to change to a fresh set of mediums? I would expect him to change to a fresh set of hard tires here and try to make it to the end of the race. So it looks like he's having to serve a penalty first. Now the crew is servicing the car, and he puts a fresh set of mediums on, actually. No! He put an old set of mediums on. And unless there is some issue with the information that I'm seeing, and folks watching on Twitch, you can see on the left side of your screen, right next to Dennis's name, 10 laps on those medium tires. So he put an old set of medium tires on. Not sure why. Maybe he just didn't have any tires left, but that is going to hurt Dennis significantly here. So now we're just waiting for the rest of the pack to rejoin the field behind the safety car. We'll likely have another safety car lap before going green, though we will wait for confirmation on that. Safety car will be in this lap, so it doesn't matter whether the pack catches them or not. The safety car has decided that they are going in, so it looks like Dennis has caught the pack, so no issue there. Going to take a look at Max P. He has only got one lap on the hard tire, and that's a safety car lap. So basically what you see is the top 6 having brand new tires. It says one lap, but considering it's a safety car lap, quite frankly, I'd imagine that it's not even half the tire wear that it normally would be under a full speed lap here. So Levi will lead them off to the green flag as they go through this final chicane. Levi's the control car. He gets to choose when he starts. Never mind that ghosted Mercedes. I do believe that is it's Jake. But never mind that car, as Levi leads him down into turn 1 with Frosty Calvin now under pressure from the Toro Rosso of SVDL. Shades of what the start looked like, except maybe the other way around. SVDL actually going through the grass a little bit there. I don't believe he cut the corner. I think the stewards did not have an issue with that. However, Ghost Zero just behind him did cut the corner, and they had a problem with that. They gave him a 3-second time penalty. So Ghost Zero just trying to battle it out and go on the inside of SVDL. They are side by side in will to will. But who will win out on this battle? SVDL, you got to remember, he is the points leader. Looks like Ghost Zero has the preferred line, and he actually shoved SVDL a little bit wide there. But SVDL still retaining the 3rd position for the time being, still side by side as they approach turn 10, going through that hairpin. And they are also under pressure from the Ferrari driver of what looks to be Dimitri. And look at that. Tiez 24 following Dimitri through to try to make the move on Jory. It didn't work, however, and Tiez has dropped back. So Jory in 6th, Tiez in 7th, Dimitri in 5th. Just behind these drivers, going to ride on board with Dimitri here, as he's going to try to make a move on SVDL here momentarily, maybe going down into turn 1, but I don't think he's close enough. No, he is not close enough to try to make a move. Getting a little loose there from Dimitri. You saw him wiggle that wheel just a little bit, but a good job hanging onto the car. Losing a little bit of time to SVDL, but not as much as if he would have hit the wall. That is for sure. We do have a yellow flag in Sector 2 that looks to be... Is that a Renault stop? No, that is the McLaren of Sea-Dog. No? Strict Dan. It is actually Strict Dan who is now out of this race. So it looks like he has wrecked out. Going to try to ride on board with Dennis and see if we can see what has happened to that Haas driver. And there you see him sitting in the middle of the track. So Dennis having to take evasive action to get through him. I don't believe we're going to be under a safety car for this. However, Strict Dan is just sitting in the track there. So unfortunate for him as he will not be able to finish this race. And Frosty Calvin, in all that mess, was able to get by Levi for the lead. So now the question is, will Frosty Calvin be able to make his tires last another 15 laps so that he can have a chance to win this race? You see Levi there, but he is 1.3 seconds behind Frosty Calvin, so there is no DRS for him. Ghost Zero, however, will have a little bit of DRS on Levi when it comes to this next corner. Dan Areno says, bruh. So I'm assuming that is Strict Dan. So tell us, Strict Dan, in the chat, what has happened to your race? How did you wreck out? And I'm sure you're definitely upset about that, no doubt. So now it looks like Ghost Zero and Levi running together. Renault teammates there. Looks like Ghost Zero is going to try to get a little bit of DRS. Now, if these drivers are smart, what they're going to do is try to work together. Instead of fighting each other, they'll try to work together, get DRS off of each other, get Slipstream off of each other, and try to catch Frosty Calvin. However, those fresh medium tires are doing well for Frosty Calvin at the time being. Ghost Zero trying to take a look on the inside of Levi, but not able to do it. Now, Ghost Zero, he already has 5 laps on those soft tires, so they're probably starting to show their age. They're probably okay for now, but give them another lap or two, and they're going to be struggling. So look for Ghost Zero to pit at least one more time. Levi, however, he will be able to make it to the end of the race. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't with only 5 laps on those hard tires. The question I have is, will Frosty Calvin be able to make his medium tires last long enough to stay out in front? And did he serve a penalty? As he did get a 3-second time penalty earlier in this race for multiple warnings, but he has since pitted. So I do not believe he served his penalty when he pitted. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. All I know for sure at the moment is Frosty Calvin is leading by 2.6 seconds. And if he can get more than 3 seconds ahead of Ghost Zero, who just made a move on Levi, then he might be okay. So it looks like It's Jake has retired from the session. Very unfortunate for him. That's going to put him down to the 15th position. And we have a virtual safety car. Is that for It's Jake? I do believe it is, actually. As we have a Mercedes stopped on the front stretch just a little bit before the line, just outside the Wall of Champions. So, It's Jake has come to a stop, and that puts the field under a virtual safety car. That will play very nicely into the hands of our leader, of Frosty Calvin, because this gives them a few corners to kind of slow down and conserve their tires. So now we are back under green, DRS enabled. Not a long break, just a very quick break. So slightly less tire wear to have to worry about there. But will it be enough? Now you gotta look, Ghost Zero, he is closing that gap significantly. Only 3 seconds separating them, and now 3.1. So I do believe that those soft tires are starting to show their age. I thought for a moment that Ghost Zero was actually closing, but it looks the other way around as Frosty Calvin is pulling away. The question is, when will Ghost Zero pit? There you see, though, behind him, SVDL trying to challenge Levi for the 3rd position. So going to ride on board with SVDL. He is your points leader at the time being with 111 points. Going through the grass just a little bit there, but no harm, no foul. The stewards didn't mind that. At this point, SVDL is just trying to bide his time, and that's the best thing to do. It's lap 23 of 35, so we've got about 13 laps remaining. There's still plenty of time, plenty of racing left. Probably about 15 minutes if it's all going green. So, that will allow SVDL to just hang out, bide his time, and quite frankly, he doesn't need a podium. He doesn't need a win. He doesn't even need the 4th place position. However, the higher you can finish, obviously, the more points you get. And the more points you get, the better off you are. There you see Levi making a move on his teammate of Ghost Zero, and I think that SVDL is going to follow him through. Yes, he is. So I think Ghost Zero is going to pit this time. I do believe that, yes, he does. He dives down into the pits. Ghost Zero has had enough of those soft tires. So he's going to lose a significant amount of time there to these leaders. So no podium for him today. That moves SVDL in 3rd, Levi in 2nd, but they are 4.3 seconds behind Frosty Calvin, who has 8 laps on those medium tires. The question still in my mind is, will he be able to keep him there? Will he be able to stay out in front? Or will Levi, once those hard tires come to action, be able to catch Frosty Calvin and get by him? We'll have to find out in just 12 laps time. There you see Sea-Dog with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So he's running in the 13th position. Very unfortunate for him. It looks like Ghost Zero has rejoined the race. He has decided to fit the medium tires, and he has rejoined the race in the 8th position. So definitely not where he wants to be, though he might have a shot to catch Stain ahead of him. Stain is 7 seconds ahead of him, though, with 14 laps on his hard tires. So he is going to be just biding his time and trying to make it to the end, while Ghost Zero can actually run a few hard qualifying laps to try to catch him. Looks like TS has a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane and a severe collision for Max P, so that's a 10-second time penalty for TS there. It looked like there was a little bit of jostling around for a position. We're going to take a look and see what is going on, but both drivers are in the pit, and looks like both drivers are probably going to have to change their front wing as well. Yeah, in fact, there you go. Both drivers having to change the front wing, but are they going to serve penalties? TS not serving a penalty. So there goes Max P and TS, both nose to tail as they exit the pit lane. So not sure what happened there, just an unfortunate situation. Gonna take a look now at the battle between SVDL and Levi, because that Toro Rosso, he is gaining on him ever so slightly. When he gets to a DRS zone, he might have a shot. We do have a yellow flag in Sector 1, however, riding on board with SVDL to try to see what's going on there. That was a car stopped. I'm not sure who it was, but that is Sea-Dog. I do believe that was Sea-Dog stopped in turn 2. So Sea-Dog going to have to finish in the 14th position here. So no points today for that McLaren driver, and it looks like no points at all for McLaren, as Sesa also had a DNF on the first lap of this race. We'll ride on board with SVDL as he closes that gap, but just not close enough to make a move on Levi. Meanwhile, the gap to Frosty Calvin up in first has more or less stayed the same. It's sort of stagnating at around 4 to 4.3 seconds here. 4.4 seconds now separating Levi and Frosty Calvin. So, with that in mind, if Frosty Calvin can maintain that gap, he might be looking at a win here today. Looks like Jory has decided to pit for the soft tire, so maybe he's going to try to go for the fastest lap to get an extra point. And now, Max P, a 5-second time penalty for another severe collision with Max P. So, or was it Max P with TS? I didn't see it. I'm not sure what is going on there. Gonna actually take a look at these two drivers for just a moment to try to get a look of what's going on. Max P is going into the pits while looks like Tiaz is just going to overshoot the chicane there. He slowed down, so I don't know if he's going to get a time penalty or not. I think he actually did. So going to take a look at SVDL as there is a yellow flag in Sector 3, though that might be Tiaz. The question is Tiaz waiting on Max P to exit the pits or not? I don't believe he is, but I do want to take a look and see what's going on there. He is actually stopped and waiting. I think he might be. He might be waiting on Max P. He's going to block him coming out of the pits. So things are about to get dicey here, and Tiez tries to wreck Max P, and he wrecks himself out instead. That is what you call Bowman graying somebody when you wait on him. For a little bit of context, for those of you who do not know, Bowman Gray, it is a local short track in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, over here in the States. And it is, just a minute, I'm going to update you on that story, but SVDL will make a move on Levi, so he moves into the second position, 4.7 seconds, so separating him and Frosty Calvin. Levi, rather, now behind him. So, Levi, will he be able to make a move once he gets to the DRS zone or not? Trying to get close to SVDL there, but not able to do much. And the battle is settling out. So, going back to the Bowman Gray story. Bowman Gray, it is a flat short track here in the United States. It's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I've been there before. It's a fairly nice track, a very historic track. They used to run NASCAR races on, and I do believe it is still NASCAR sanctioned. However, it is notorious for fights, wrecks, and rivalries. It is, and when I say a flat track, it is literally flat. There is a whopping 0 degrees of banking in the corners, and there's a football field in the middle of the track. So you can imagine that it is tight confines. You can look it up on YouTube. There's plenty of wrecks, and it is notorious for drivers actually waiting on another driver that they want to wreck out to circle back around. So that is what we saw TS try to do with Max P. It's just absolutely Bowman Graham. And now Levi trying to make a move on SVDL. They are side by side going into turn 1. Levi going to make the move on the outside, now the inside as they go through turn 2, but he will not clear him. SVDL and Levi staying side by side, but Levi did actually be able to clear him. He gets the advantage riding on board with SVDL now, lap 30 of 35. And Frosty Calvin, not sure if he knows what's going on behind him, but he is loving this. That gap is 5.2 seconds now. So Frosty Calvin might be looking at a win if he can just hold on to that car and maintain that gap, because Levi and SVDL, they are duking it out. Levi starting to pull away from SVDL. I almost wonder if Levi did a little bit better job of managing his tires than SVDL. It looks like there is a little bit of speed difference between the two, and I think that might come down to tire wear. However, SVDL, he will have the DRS down this straightaway. He might be able to make a move riding on board with him, as he has the best view of what he's trying to do, but as they go through the chicane, it's just not enough, not able to do it. However, these two drivers have been able to close the gap very, very slightly on Frosty Calvin, 5.2 seconds now. As Frosty Calvin, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings for cutting the corner. No, you can't do that. So now Frosty Calvin, he is going to have to stay at least 3 seconds ahead of Levi. So Frosty Calvin, he is probably sweating in his seat. However, if he knew what was going on behind him, he might have his mind just a little bit at ease. SVDL just trying to follow Levi through. I think he's actually starting to try to work with him instead of against him here. And that's the best thing that they can do, because they will have a shot at Frosty Calvin if they can work together. But with only 4 laps remaining, it's going to be a big ask for these drivers to catch him. But the gap is down to 4.9 seconds now. I think Frosty Calvin, he is starting to actually lose a little bit of confidence and maybe even lose a little bit of tire grip. 4.8 seconds separating Levi and Frosty Calvin. So the question is, will they get back down close to the 3-second mark, or will Frosty Calvin be able to hold off on medium tires and win this race? Gonna take a look at the battle between Veterano and Jory, as Jory is making a move on the inside of Veterano going into turn 1. Side by side, a little bit of contact there, but Jory, he has the soft tires, so he is quick on those tires. And a little bit of contact between Veterano and Jory again, so that puts Jory into the wall. So Jory is not going to be happy about that. I guarantee you. I think that was the Haas car of Max P who was filling that hole, and I think that Veterano tried to make room for him, and in doing so, got into Joe Reed and put him into the wall. Nothing that I could tell was intentional, just a matter of racing deal and running out of real estate, but Joe Reed using DRS to get close to Veterano and trying to go on the outside, a little bit of a lockup there. Not able to do anything with it, but he might be able to do something this time as they go into turn 10, and he spins him. He spins Veterano, and both of them go into the wall. Joe Reed and Veterano both going into the wall. So Veterano will now stop in the runoff area outside of turn 10, while Joe Reed will get away in the 6th position. I'm going to have to call it like I see it, folks. It just looked like Joe Reed turned dead right to try to hook Veterano. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is just how it happened. And so now Joe Reed going into the pits, undoubtedly to change the front wing, but the question is, will Veterano follow him? Yes, he will. So we're going to keep you updated on this battle here for the time being. Lap 33 of 35, and tempers flaring already in this race. So Joe Reed having to serve a time penalty. Looks like Veterano is just now getting his front wing changed, so that might work out for Joe Reed, and he might finish ahead of Veterano. But they're still losing a lot of ground regardless. Cucaracha passing Veterano. Will he pass Joe Reed? No, he will not. Joe Reed got out ahead of the Ferrari. So going to take a look now at SVDL and Levi, as SVDL has since gotten by Levi. So a good move undoubtedly from SVDL. Just unfortunately that we missed it while watching the rivalry there between Joe Reed and Veterano. So they have closed the gap now to 3.7 seconds to Frosty Calvin. And I think that Frosty Calvin may not be winning this race. It's going to be so very close because we're at 2 to go right now. Frosty Calvin, he's going to have to run some very good laps. He's going to have to find some speed somewhere in that car because it is 3.8 seconds separating Frosty Calvin and SVDL. And Frosty Calvin has 3 seconds worth of time penalties that he's going to have to serve here. So, a podium, very doable. A win, it's going to be a big ask. 3.3 seconds now separating Frosty Calvin and SVDL. Those hard tires coming to live, at least compared to the medium tires, which has 18 laps. However, Frosty Calvin is not out of the count yet. This will be the final lap, as Frosty Calvin will cross the line here momentarily to take the white flag, but SVDL is in the hunt, 2.8 seconds now. Calvin's going to have to go for broke or hope that SVDL has time penalties. I do not know, but I do not think that SVDL has any time penalties. I think he's kept it a clean race all day. So, it's going to come down to time penalties here. And it looks like SVDL is going to walk away with this victory. But I'm not calling it yet. We're going to wait for them to cross the line. But as it stands right now, if SVDL does not have... And Frosty Calvin picks up another 3-second time penalty. So, that completely writes off any chance whatsoever that Frosty Calvin had to win this race. SVDL will undoubtedly be winning this race. But where will Frosty Calvin wind up after time penalties? I do believe he will still get third, but that is going to be very, very unfortunate for Frosty Calvin. You know he's going to be mad over that. So they go through the final chicane. Frosty Calvin, he will cross the line first, but SVDL will rocket to the top of the board. No, Levi. SVDL did have time penalties. Levi will win. Levi in the Renault. He will walk away victorious. He was your pole sitter. Now he's your winner. Levi wins for the Renault. SVDL in second. Frosty Calvin in third. Dimitri in fourth in the Ferrari. And Ghost Zero looks like he's going to round the final few corners to try to finish in the 5th position. See no reason why he can't do so. There you see Stain and the Williams coming in 5th. after Ghost Zero had apparently a lot of time penalties, and I'm very surprised at that. I did not know that Ghost Zero had that many time penalties. Ghost Zero actually dropping down to 7th now because Jory crosses the line, and he will be credited with the 6th position. So where is Dennis? Dennis will cross the line now, finishing in the 8th position. So Ghost Zero is officially in 7th. So that was a magnificent race. We saw a lot of tempers flaring between Tiez, Max P, Veterano, and Jory. But nonetheless, a very good race and a good drive from Levi, who kept this race clean and, due to time penalties, was able to walk away with this win. So your pole sitter in that Renault is now your winner, standing on the top step of the podium, followed by SVDL in 2nd and Frosty Calvin in 3rd, who tried to stay out on medium tires. Had a good run going, but just had too many time penalties to make it work. But that is the name of the game here in the Formula Euro League. So your official results are Levi in 1st, SVDL in 2nd, Frosty Calvin in 3rd, 4th is Dimitri, 5th is Stain, Jory in 6th, 7th is Ghost Zero, 8th is Dennis, 9th is Cucaracha, Veterano in 10th, Max P, and 11th, Jesse in 12th. 13th is TS24, Sea-Dog in 14th, 15th is It's Jake, Strickdan in 16th, 17th, David VH, Raphael in 18th, 19th is Harvkosh, and Sesa in the 20th position. I hope you enjoyed that race, folks. It was magnificent. It was a nail-biter, maybe even controversial. Many tempers flaring. Not sure how the league stewards are going to feel about that, but nonetheless, what you see, that's what you got. So until next time, I am Tim, and to remind everybody, I do believe that this is going to be our final race for almost a month before we rejoin on the F1 2020 game in July. So just to get an update on that, the next race will be July 26th. That will be on the F1 2020 game. So be sure to join us for that. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this race, and I hope you enjoy the summer break. And wherever you are in the world, good evening, good morning, good day, good night. Peace out.